Hi, friends. Welcome back to the Tommy Obenchain podcast. I'm Tommy Obenchain, your host. Thrilled to be with you here. It's evening in Dallas, so wherever you're listening from, I hope that you're well. I'm sitting in seat 1A in my garage, which is the best, except that it's not air conditioned. It's a very pleasant summer night here in early August in Dallas, which is a gift because I can sit outside and feel warm, but not just obtusely warm, shall we say. So thanks for letting me dialogue on that. It is kind of also pleasant. I love this time of day in Texas and for sure in Dallas because you get like good, bird activity. And I wouldn't call myself a bird watcher, so to say, but it's nice to hear them. And you think of, if David Attenborough were here and he was just, now the sun is setting and it's a really lovely day. It's now passing into night. And as you see the wildlife come awake as the day comes to a close, it'd be this interesting, like, wow, what are you even saying, David Attenborough? But your voice is like milk being poured out on rocks that are smooth. Anyways, yeah, that's weird. So that's real. Or Martin Clune, maybe. Never watched his stuff, but love. I think it's the comedians who do Little Britain. They did this show called Come Fly With Me. Quick story on that. So it's these two comedians. They're British. I don't know their names. They have been in things before. So they are, comedians and on the BBC, no less. And my brother and I are flying Singapore Airlines on a sector from Moscow to Singapore. We're en route from Houston to Dhaka in Bangladesh. And we're flying, over some far off place that would connect Houston and Moscow, watching Singapore Airlines in-flight entertainment. And I just must give credit where it's due. Singapore Airlines is among the best airlines in the world, kind of, bar none. And their delivery from a product standpoint is excellent, in my opinion, in every cabin of service. That's one of the things that really marks, I think, a great airline is it's not just the forward cabin that's exceptional, but every cabin is exceptional. And so in that regard, Singapore Airlines really writes a book, one that is a best-in-class book, if I might be so bold. Drew and I are in economy on this massive 777 en route to Singapore, watching in-flight entertainment, and what do I find but this show called Come Fly With Me from the BBC. So I think this looks entertaining about airplanes. Of course, I'm predisposed to like it. Turn it on, and I am like crying. I'm laughing so hard within a couple of minutes of watching the show. So I tell my brother he's got to watch this. So it's like 2 a.m, and we're over Uzbekistan. And we are both just like audibly, loudly laughing. Like it's like obnoxious how loud we're laughing because this show is so truly funny, if not maybe a little bit off color, to put it mildly. Though that is more in an ironic sense or a non-politically correct sense than anything else. Just to be clear, I would recognize it's not especially lewd for whatever that's worth. And in that place, we talk about it to this day. That was over a decade ago now that we sat on that plane. And in that same token, like I've since found this show, and it's really like these comedians are pretty talented. They have a wide range of humor. Come Fly With Me was kind of amidst the cleaner of their shows. So Come Fly With Me, Martin Clune. That was a nice random diversion there, but thank you. Diversion brings me to my first point. We've got a great show ahead tonight. I want to talk about flight attendant parenting. I want to talk about what's ahead here in newsletter and podcast. If you're a newsletter subscriber, thanks for flying with me on the blog. To be clear, I'm grateful to get to correspond with you in this way, and I'm grateful to get to write to you as well and be in your inbox. So I want to talk a little more about that. And then I want to talk about something I wrote about this week, which is Swiss's new Senses first class cabin, and first class as a concept, as a cabin, as a aspirational way to travel, and what it means in 2025. So that's the plan, where we're flying, where we're going to land for this show. Am I excited? Yeah, I'm really excited. The lighting just changed in here too. I hope it doesn't just look terrible now, but we'll see, right? Right. Okay, the show must go on. So first and foremost, diversions, flight attendant parenting. This weekend had just best weekend of my life, and that was because I got to just be with my 2 girls and go on what was in kind of function a business trip with them to go do a couple of site visits while my wonderful wife was in New York City visiting her sister, which is great fun for her to get a weekend away from being full-time mom, and for me, a very keen delight to be with my children. And That's really true anywhere, but it was kind of fun that I got to involve them in some work/adventure this weekend. So we made our way from Dallas down to Houston and then on to College Station, where we laid over before heading back to Dallas. And I realized as I'm, driving them around and they're coming on this, road trip of sorts with me, as that is what it amounted to, is that my time as a flight attendant informs so much of my, especially parenting, like over the road, so to say, where we're kind of keeping the train on the tracks and in motion. And just catering to needs as they arise. And I've done this now more than once insofar as like taking the girls on the road trip, just myself on a road trip, just myself. Hilarious actually is a sidebar. I guess I've not flown with both of them alone. I've flown with my oldest alone at least more than once, not to put too fine a point on it, but I've not flown with both of them alone. So I've traveled over the road with them alone, not actually traveled in the air yet alone. Excited to do that at some point. Love when we get to travel all four of us. That is for sure the best and unquestionably the easiest. But I just love the oh, you're screaming right now. Good. What do we need to do to make this right? Do you want mileage compensation? I don't know. How about an extra meal? Can I get you a drink? Like there's just some element of what it was to be a flight attendant and just kind of solve problems for folks, especially the non-technical problems. I mean, it's one thing like we're going to find a space for your overhead bin bag, or you don't need to gate check that. We're going to get it on the plane. Those type of problems or don't miss your connection. Here's your connecting gate information. Or I remember once I was in Albuquerque and our plane had a mechanical issue. Then O'Hare went into a ground stop. And so we have, this flight full of passengers, and I was working purser. We were on the small Airbus, the 319. And I was on the phone with our call centers for our passengers. Like, hi, I'm Tommy. I'm the purser on their flight. Here's what's going on. I need you to find another connection to them to Germany tonight. I had this family who was going to Germany, and it was like, we've got to get and everyone's got connections. And it was just this hilarious, what are we going to do? We got to solve these problems. Then we got airborne. It was like, hey, guess what's open? The bar on this flight. No one's paying for drinks. And that was kind of fun in its own right. So in that place, that outside of, the bar comment, the overall kind of joie de vivre that was, we just are going to ubiquitously care here, really was the spirit of affairs on this weekend's journey. And then I just find myself talking to myself like, oh yeah, we're flying here. We're going to lay over. I'm not flying. We're driving here. We're going to lay over. We got this much time on the segment, this much time remaining en route. And it's like, Dad, what are you saying? Are you just kind of being a flight attendant for fun? It's like, yeah, kind of. It's kind of my fallback when I'm left to myself here, which is what we're doing. And it's the best ever. So flight attendant parenting, could go on and on talking about it, but it was in hindsight kind of hilarious to observe myself doing that and having been a flight attendant, at least appreciating the fact that this is not, I'm not just, maybe I am a little crazy. I don't know. I was going to say I'm not just crazy, but who knows? Anyways, the point is just that there's parallel. Has it been equipping at a point? Yes. Is it hilarious? Probably even more so. Yes. And one day my children will get to comment on it, and that will really be something. But I love them very much. It was a great trip, and we got some great work done. We did stay at a hotel in College Station that I was kind of excited to try because it was affiliated with a brand that I very much frequent and talk about on the show. I'm not going to go into detail. If you are planning travel and ask me for my opinion, I will not steer you towards this hotel, to be sure. But in that place, I was not happy. I would say, unhappy is a little strong. We had a great stay. The value was awesome insofar as the points we redeemed for it were concerned. But the hotel itself was not a hotel I would return to because it wasn't that great. And I was really quite surprised this brand renewed the franchise with this hotel because it is substantially below standard. For my purposes, with my children, so great. And that's one thing I do find funny about staying at hotels. Like, I think had I been there for work, I would have just kind of been in and out, like maybe noted and thought I'm probably going to come back here, but not thought too hard about it. But of course, I find with my children, I really use hotel facilities maybe a little more aggressively than on my own, insofar as hey, let's go and let's crush this breakfast. And it's like, gosh, this is a terrible breakfast space, and the furniture is just falling apart, and the food is patently bad insofar as the eggs they're serving, and it's just, again, very below brand standards, which is not me being, it's just this is I know what y'all are going for here because I've stayed at more than one of your style of properties, and this is, we're really missing the mark. And then we go to the pool area, and the people were so kind. The staff was amazing. That's what was just striking. The facility was not good. The staff, wonderful. And again, for our purposes, just a delight. Totally check the box. I'm just talking about, again, if you're trying to maintain brand standards, this one was substantially below it. We're redeeming points. We come in with an expectation. It falls short of the expectation, misses the mark. is that a real problem? No, there are real problems in this world, and mine was not one of them. I think it's interesting to talk about just in the context of travel because this has relevance. And like we go to the pool area, the pool water, I'm not kidding, is like murky with chlorine, and there was way too much of other guests' hair in the water, which just kind of gave me the heebie-jeebies. And there was this big piece of the ceiling that was missing in the indoor pool. It was just kind of, not pleasant to look at, perhaps, or kind of distressing to look at. And in all cases, not a big deal, but just like, oh, that's unsightly, literally. And then there was a hot tub, and now it's been filled in with cement, which was, again, kind of like less of an eyesore and more just like, oh, that kind of feels, like it par for the course. So wouldn't stay at that hotel again. Definitely below brand standards. Kind of surprised, plainly. Did my children and I have a blast? Yes. Is it funny what you notice when traveling with children? Yes. Did my girls have a wonderful time swimming in the pool? They did. So is there a problem here? It's hard to say. But if I was running brand for this global chain and stay at this property, I would think we got a problem here. And that's the problem I'm speak to. Sidebar. So College Station layover, great. Made it back to Dallas the next day. Great success. Mom was back. Great trip. She flew Southwest out, American back. Check the box to be sure. She was in New York. She did not. I've written about my great time taking public transit to and from LaGuardia and JFK, respectively. She just took Ubers. They were not egregiously expensive, premium, not egregiously expensive. Got the job done in spades, which was a good thing insofar as my wife's easy travels were concerned. And she's back home, which is a great joy and a great grace. Speaking of home, it was funny coming from my, over the road dad flight attendant trip for my girls, doing some site visits for work and having a blast doing so. And then we got back home on Saturday afternoon, and I was like, oh, this feels so good to be home. And I thought to myself, is this the whole reason that we travel, just for this, like the sweetness of appreciating home in a new way again? No, not entirely, but it does have a lot to do with it. There's a sweet grace to returning home and feeling like home is a great place. Home is a great gift. And it was, and it still is. And I'm grateful to appreciate it in a new way. So, Dad is a flight attendant. Thank you. Speaking of, this weekend, I had no time to write. So if you're a newsletter subscriber, thank you again. And that's why you haven't heard from me in a couple of days, which is interesting. So if you've noticed, we have a great announcement. First of my new video formats just dropped. I'm about to re-release a handful of classics that I'm excited to share again. And in that, think that you'll enjoy them. And then new content is coming, which is great. So we've got the podcast, we've got the video content, and then finally we have obviously the blog, which is what's emailed. And in that, the pacing is interesting because you've kind of got clearly now a post that's related to video, post related to podcast, post kind of a weekly roundup. Here's what's going on, and that leaves 4 days of the week that are what kind of fits in that place, and just also general posting that doesn't need to fill an inbox, but I'd like to have as a resource pool on the website, alongside just a larger announcement that I'm going to tease purely as forthcoming, that I'm very excited about as a further service to you, dear listener and reader and, subscriber, insofar as more services we're going to offer that I think are going to be great. Going to really help you travel well. And I'm saying all this to say, figuring out what that content cadence is, and it's entirely, I have a little bit of supporting cast, but it's me who's coming up and coming, together with it. And so as a result, it's entirely, being done in the margins of my time. So there's points where it's like I'm traveling over the road for work or with my girls or anything else, and just don't have the opportunity to get out content. So I guess I'm thanking you for your grace, telling you more is coming, and excited as we step into a couple of these verticals to let them kind of live and breathe and grow together. And I do obviously want to know, what are you enjoying? What do you want more of? What are you not enjoying? What do you not want more of? In some sense, there's a clear, what do you want to give your attention to and your time to? Because your time is your most valuable resource. It's mine as well, or it's among your most valuable resources, if not that very top. And so in that, I would love to know kind of what is a good use of your time, and what are you really enjoying as you'd spend your time receiving from me as a part of this story, the best part of the story, to be clear. So with that open question, please respond back, comments, or send me an email, and I'll look forward to reading your replies. Dallas, like I said tonight, very fun evening. 2 departures as my house sits over our eastbound departure tracks out of DFW when traffic is departing to the south. And that being the case, we've had both American 36 headed to Madrid, as well as Lufthansa. I don't remember Lufthansa's flight number. My memory is it's like 421. I could totally be wrong. Anyways, Lufthansa's A330 that was headed back for Frankfurt on its way out of Dallas, which was so fun. I love Lufthansa. I've got like some Germanic heritage, and so I feel this, kind of kinship to Lufthansa, to be sure. But then I say that and like, hey, Lufthansa's great. Speak a little French, love Air France. I've got Scandinavian heritage, so I think Finnair is just awesome. Would love to fly on SAS, have a little bit of British there as well. I'm like totally American, right? Love British Airways. So what? I just love European airlines. They're so fun. KLM is great, less of a connection, but think the Dutch are the real deal. And Iberia, had some really good times on Iberia. The only European airline I've really not spent time flying, this is a complete, tracking off here, but is Alitalia, which is now, gosh, why am I forgetting their name? Embarrassed by that. ITA. I've not spent time on the Italian airline. I've flown Alitalia in their old form, I think once, maybe a long time ago. That has come and gone, and now I've not spent any time on ITA, but their regional and longer haul business class product looks very Italian and very good. So I'm keen to try it. I'd love to try them again in every cabin, but I haven't gotten to give them much of a go past that. And really, actually, I mentioned Swiss at the start. We're going to go there in just a minute. I've not spent much time flying Swiss, only really been on their short haul economy product within Europe. Would love to try Swiss long haul, and would love to try Swiss in first class, because Swiss is a part of the Lufthansa group. I think of them myself as like Lufthansa is kind of the parent company. Is that true? Ask them. The point I'm making is Lufthansa's rolled out with like great difficulty their new Allegris first and business class product, and it is flying, which is good, but it has had some real challenges that I won't go into great detail on. So I'll leave it at that. Now to say that Swiss has got their functionally kind of copy and paste, renovation, a refresh of their business and first class products. They're calling Swiss Senses, which is neat from a brand standpoint. Whether you think well of the actual diction or not, it's great to see them branding it at all. And in that place, the Swiss Senses product looks very exceptional. And Swiss is cool because they put a first class cabin on all of their long haul airplanes. That is unique. It's not exclusive to Swiss, but it's unique insofar as like Lufthansa has first class on a subset of their planes. Similar with British Airways, I can go on. The point is that it's not across all their long haul planes. Swiss is across all their long haul aircraft. And so that being said, you can fly in a Swiss first class product on any long haul Swiss flight, which is great, in addition to obviously business class and their main cabin product. And in that, the new Swiss First is going to be exceptional. Swiss at large just delivers. They're a very quality airline with a very quality product. Booking their first class on points is virtually impossible unless you are a Senator or Han Circle member in the Miles and Smiles program. To my understanding, I could be wrong, but please correct me if so. In all instances, it is a challenging cabin to book, kind of like La Première on Air France. Air France's first class product, which is equally exceptional, and you've got to be flying Blue, Platinum, or Ultimate to book on points into that cabin. That's a little more achievable than Senator and Han Circle, not massively more, but a little bit more. That's a topic for another post, whether it's of intrigue or not. But in all cases, the difficulty of getting into these products and on points is real, and that's going to be interesting to watch, observe. One of the things that has been great about Lufthansa's first class product specifically is that it is very achievable on points, and not just on Lufthansa points, which it actually has been like relatively reasonable. You pay a high fuel surcharge, but on Air Canada with Aeroplan, or on Life Miles, or historically on United's Mileage Plus, now they've increased the rates to earn and burn there, so it's not as competitive as it was. But that will likely change with this new Allegris product as it gets rolled out a little more broadly. And I say all that to say, it's interesting to see, as I wrote about, the real kind of continuance, so to say, of first class products here and with these European carriers, because in North America, like first class is gone. Americans walking it off. This kind of business class plus product that United and American have both rolled out, I'm confident Delta will follow suit. But I could be wrong, though that would be my expectation, is not a first-class product by any means. It's just kind of a intelligent use of space at the front of the cabin where you can have a slightly bigger business class seat. And actually, credit where it's due, JetBlue is who rolled that out first with their Mint Studio, and great job to JetBlue. That is a little bit of a throwback, and everything in the airline industry is a kind of reinventing what's come before. U.S. Airways, back when they used to have like first in business, and that was the way everyone did it. And then when they rolled back their first class product and called business class Envoy, they sold those front row of seats, which were flatbed, big recliner seats, versus the kind of, just recliner seats that were their business class envoy seats as some type of kind of envoy plus, that if you were top tier in their frequent flyer program, you could pre-reserve or you could pay up to them. It's interesting. Anyways, so this concept of a business class product, or business class plus product, is nothing new, and that is taken North America. But first class is really held and had a placement in the commercial stacks of these, European, Asian, and of course Qantas in Australia as well, along with obviously the Middle Eastern carriers, without a doubt. And then TAG, the Angolan airline, which the blogger world kind of goes crazy for their first class. I've not obviously tried it. Well, that's obviously not. I've not tried it. I kind of would be intrigued too, but it doesn't sound terribly pleasant. It sounds extremely interesting, though. That being said, the presence of a first class product kind of has real place in the global aviation scene, and less so in North America. And it's now being kind of anteed up, so to say, which is therein to you kind of evidence that the market is justifying it, whether that's cash or points. Cash is more the norm there than not, and I think the question really remains, which is why have these premium cabins? It made sense when you think about kind of the late 90s and 2000s. Well, first class was the seat that really did turn into a bed, so the product really was exclusivity, and it was luxury, but really it was rest, right? And now that's accomplished entirely in a business class product that turns into a bed. And ironically, right, the premium economy seats of today are functionally what business class seats were 2 decades ago, which is, you kind of can split hairs and say, well, they were a little more this, a little more that, but it's not entirely inaccurate by any measure. And business class as a flatbed product really was kind of vanguard as a new thing when British Airways made that move a couple of decades ago, and now everyone has followed suit. And so the essence of what was traditionally first class has really fallen to the business class product, which then again lends the question, like, Swiss has a 3-cabin first class product. What's the point? Air France is a 4-seat first class cabin. What's the point? And Swiss's cabin, like Lufthansa's, that 4-seat or that 3-seat can actually seat 4 if you have 2 in the middle. But the point would remain. These are very small, very exclusive cabins. And I have not spent, to be quite clear, a lot of time flying around in them, and that's just fine. I have had some very fun point redemptions in first class cabins, which are, I would say, in my book, worth it. Not perhaps always, but generally. And my most memorable kind of flights, I do credit where it's due. I've had couple of fun first class flights on American. Again, American's rolling that product back, and with respect, their true first class product has never been especially competitive globally. It has had moments of being competitive, but not especially competitive globally. Whereas, like, I've gotten to spend a few times flying Lufthansa in first class, and that's kind of, again, the points and miles, blogger world, very much the ubiquitous, Lufthansa first class, get it on points. Kind of, it's almost a trope, so to say. And there are bloggers who I follow who they collect the rubber duckies from Lufthansa's first class terminal, because they give you those if you take a bath. And we have a couple of them because I have given them to my children. I think collecting them is, everyone has their own things. It's not my thing. Anyways, the point I'm making is just that when you talk about first class products, Lufthansa is kind of seen as the most achievable insofar as, global competitive first class products on points. You can find others that are out there that are great, like British Airways, for instance, a great redemption on points, but British Airways first class product is really something closer to a great business class product as far as the seat size, cabin size is concerned. They have their own market that's established there. I don't want to dismiss that, nor am I seeking to be overly pejorative in that comment about it being a great business class. But if you stacked like British Airways first class next to Air France's first class, Air France's is superior in every mark on a degree that's, multiple times, not just a kind of, it's marginally nicer. Like it is substantively better. They charge substantively more. They have a different market they're approaching, and in doing so are very, very competitive in a way that British Airways isn't. And they just have 2 different markets they fly to. Notably, BA owns Heathrow. Air France does not. That changes your calculus. I digress. The point I'm making is these, true first class products, I've not spent a lot of time flying them. The ones I have flown have been terrific redemption of miles, and world class wise, I feel probably for me, I think of Lufthansa, and then my redemption on my honeymoon, flying both Etihad and then also like Singapore Airlines and Suites would be kind of the other that I would put really, really high up on the board. I've not flown Emirates in their first class. I have not flown Qantas in their first class. I can go on. I have not flown Swiss in their first class. I've not flown Air France's first class. products I like to try. I've not flown British Airways first class either, actually. I mean, I've got more I've not flown than I have flown. Just no hiding here. But I have gotten to spend some time, and that's just all more talking than needs to be had, to say that with a first class product, a redemption can be a total win, and that is true. And I think the question really shapes itself into why do these products still exist, and are they worth it? So why do they still exist? I'm going to go 3 things that I really think kind of make it. The first is entirely rest, and that's an interesting point to be made, because I said that at the beginning, like, well, you can do that in business class. I would just gradually, but on a kind of a, not gradual, but on a like gentle basis, say that the experience of, an 8-seat first class cabin or a 4-seat first class cabin is so personalized that it really can afford a much even higher degree of luxury and finish out, and that can create very comfortable spaces, which can be very conducive to rest. And so that's been my experience first. You have this kind of rest component, which is just extenuated. It is better still in a true first class product. And that is probably the lowest kind of mark insofar as what constitutes a great first class product. Great rest on the plane, great bedding, comfortable seat, great bed, great space, and a great opportunity for rest. So that's my number one. Why do you still have a great first class product? What commands the premium? The ability for rest on the highest level on an airplane. Terrific. Number one. Number two, personalization, and I would say kind of connection, in that there's something that's very fun about the ability, if you're me at least, but I think this is just generally true, the experience can be so personalized, and you have such an opportunity to connect with the folks who are on the plane. I mean, I remember in Lufthansa's first class, it's very cool, but more than once I've seen the captain come down and he introduces himself, and it's just kind of this very, very personal experience on the plane. Similarly, the purser, and then it's just, it's not a massive group of cabin crew who are serving and kind of preparing the first class cabin. And so as a result, you have the opportunity to really connect with them. Similarly, kind of ground staff components. Again, I'm going to step into my third point in just a minute, which will connect this all together. But you have this real ability for the product to feel very, very personalized and really give space for connection, which on a human level is very satisfying, very engaging, and really fun, which extenuates then the third point as you talk about a travel experience. What a true first-class product really affords is presence to do what you need to do. And whether that's you're traveling on business and you've got some reason to go somewhere that is worthy of spending a lot of money to fly in a way that'll allow you to rest and kind of connect, then the same vein, if you're going on a vacation and you're wanting to really get to, just plainly, and I'm kind of, this gets a little philosophical. The point I'm making is that a great first class product really affords you presence, right? The presence to enjoy where you are and to be very mentally like, this is kind of still in this place. And I love that about a great first class product, because what is true in so much of the airline experience and just a travel experience in general is that you're constantly thinking about the next thing, because you're trying to stay ahead of where you're going, because you've got to get to the gate. Because I mean, it's like that old phrase, the train leaves, not the station, right? Like you've got to kind of carry on with your planning to stay up with your trip, because if you don't get to the gate and get on the plane on time and find your seat and kind of do your part, then it'll leave without you, right? And that's true in every element of a travel experience. It's for sure very felt in the flying experience. The flying experience is just generally very overwhelming, because it's this very kind of industrial, systematic type of complex that you've got to find your way, navigate through, and it's the corporate job of an airline to, and speaking to aviation specifically, to ease that passage, ease that process. That's not always done well on a lot of airlines' parts, put mildly. And so as a result, this kind of creates a dissonance that can be very unpleasant and really can pull you out of the presence and just the gift it is to be richly and fully present somewhere. And I would suggest, and you actually see this in Air France's, their collateral about their new La Première product, and I linked the video in a recent and previous post, that they're really marketing the experience as akin to flying on a private plane. And that is one of the things that is so utterly decadent pleasant about flying privately, is that you are entirely able to not have to think very hard about the whole of the experiences happening around you. You can just enjoy it and be present in it, because you're being cared for and kind of it's all moving at your pace. And that is really how, like Lufthansa's first class, you arrive at the first class terminal in Frankfurt and they kind of take over. They just show you the way and things move at something that feels like your speed. It's my understanding, based on my reading, not my experience, that Air France's first class functions similarly. Some of the larger and kind of more scaled first class products. I'm thinking of Emirates and Singapore is my experience being with Singapore's. There still is this element of like, you've got to make sure you get to the gate on time. They're not kind of walking you along at every process. I've not flown their first class in a couple of years. Maybe that's changed, but once you're on board, it's entirely kind of at your speed, at your pace. Welcome. You're glad you're here. That level of service is unique to a cabin that is so small, like first class. You're taking kind of, again, the industrial scale of of an airline product, which is big, right? Even at the smallest level, you're still doing big pieces of equipment, big complexity from a technical standpoint. Getting an airplane in the sky, there's a lot to that, and then you're paring that next to just the utter personalization of, hi, Mr. Obenchain, we're so glad you're here. Would you like to sit down? And we'll come and get you when it's time to go. But in the meantime, what can we offer you to drink? Or would you like to have something to eat? Or perhaps you'd like a shower to take some rest or a nap before we get underway. There's this sense of you are being cared for. You can remain present to the moment because they're doing the thinking for you. And that is really delightful, shall we say, and unique. And again, it requires not big numbers to make that a reality, or just massive, kind of massive scale. And I guess I could, Emirates does that well at scale. So do many others, but relative to the scale of, the number of passengers who are traveling in economy or in premium economy or in business class on a given day, it's a small fraction, a subset who is traveling in first. And that personalization, the presence that then kind of comes out of it is, as a human, very pleasant. Does it make it worth it? On points, I would say almost all the time. And is there an opportunity? Is there value to be had in spending cash on it? I think there can be sometimes. What's interesting and true is that, like, the market for Air France's first class product, and this is entirely what Lufthansa and Swiss are going after, and the list goes long and on. The market that's being competed for is not folks, who are flying other first class or who are traveling in business class. That's there, and you're going to capture that kind of in upgrades and in market positioning, etc. But this is not a cabin built for frequent flyers who are seeking to score upgrades. This is a cabin this is a product that really is built and designed around folks who would otherwise be considering flying private. So that's kind of the genesis of the model. And then you're working your way out and building a product around and from there, which really requires a lot. And that is quite exceptional. Like, it breeds an exceptional product. Is that right? Is it ethical? All these things, like private flying, is that a good thing? Is it always a good thing? Questions that I'm not going to answer on today's podcast, except to say that there's a lot of good questions that can be asked here. And in that place, is first class worth it? Often yes, sometimes no. Is it interesting? Yes, so interesting. Specifically, as it is, generally speaking, better than ever. If you look at first class on a Pan Am 707 back in the 60s versus first class on an Emirates A380 today, or first class on a Air France 777 today, it is much better than it's ever been before. There is a very compelling argument to say that we are living in the golden age of travel, which is something that not everyone would agree with. And yet it's interesting to say, well, why has it gotten so much better? What's driving that? And how do I get to give it a try? Well, shoot me an email if you're interested in giving it a try. I can help you sharpshoot what's really the way to go about it to make it happen for you, because there are easy ways and there are hard ways, and it's good to get to look at all of it and then go, where do you want to fly next, and get on the plane. So with that, thanks for flying with me here. It's great to be on the podcast with you. I'm Tommy Obenchain. This is the Tommy Obenchain podcast. If you've not subscribed yet to the newsletter at tommyobenchain.com, or easy, go to obenair.com, have that URL too. Subscribe, please. I invite you, want you to be a part of this with me. Also, if I could trouble you with it, will you stop right now and share this podcast with one other person who you think might enjoy listening to just a little bit extra on travel adventures, points, miles, and going out into the world, traveling well. That's what we're here to talk about. If you'd share this with someone, it would mean the world. And if you don't mind giving it a quick review on Apple Podcasts, it helps us reach more people. To the handful of folks who have already given us reviews, thank you so much. This is, well, the beginning, and I'm grateful to be with you here. So once more, I'm Tommy Obenchain. Until next time, thanks for flying with me.